Good evening, and thank you for joining me for another Boring Books for Bedtime. I hope tonight's selection provides all the boredom your busy brain needs to quiet down and let you get some sleep. Before we begin, I'd like to give a special shout out of thanks to some new members of our Patreon family: Jennifer, Mary, and Bernard. Thank you all so much for supporting this podcast. By becoming members of Patreon, you help us remain 100% listener supported and ad-free for everyone, and it's very much appreciated. If you're interested in supporting Boring Books for Bedtime and finding out more about the perks available to subscribers, including exclusive episodes, fictional readings, and full books found nowhere else, you'll find a link to Patreon in the show description. You'll also find a link to buymeacoffee.com, where you can support us with a one-time tip. No subscription required. I hope you'll take a moment to check them out. Now, let's read and relax. Find a comfortable spot. Adjust your volume. Take a nice deep breath in. Let it out slowly. And off we go. Tonight, let's relax with more from a book about man's best friend. We're reading All About Dogs, a book for doggy people, by Charles Henry Lane, breeder, exhibitor, and judge. With 87 illustrations of the most celebrated champions of our time, drawn from life, by R.H. Moore. First published in 1901 by John Lane of London and New York. Let's pick up right where we left off at the beginning of Chapter 3. Let's begin. Chapter 3: Dogs Used in Sport Continued. Bloodhounds, Otterhounds, and Great Danes. I have adopted the above title instead of the more usual term of sporting dogs, so as to be able to include breeds about which there is a difference of opinion as to whether they are strictly sporting dogs or not, and propose in this chapter to say a few words about bloodhounds, otterhounds, and Great Danes, taking them in that order. Many of my readers, as well as I, can remember the time within the last 30 years when bloodhounds were few and far between, and the entries of this handsome and aristocratic-looking breed were at a low ebb, even at the best shows. This is no longer the case, thanks to the enterprise and zeal of a few well-known breeders, of whom stands in the very front rank my friend Mr. Edwin Brough of Scarborough, who gained some of his knowledge and experience at the feet of my old friend Mr. Edwin Nichols of West Kensington, who as a breeder as well as exhibitor of bloodhounds, mastiffs, and Newfoundlands was the most successful I have ever known, and in my opinion quite unsurpassed as a judge of those breeds, and one of the most entertaining companions I have ever met. Seldom when I came across him at any dog show, which was very often in the days I was an extensive exhibitor, but that he kept up the company to a late hour with his entertaining stories of men and dogs. I much regret that owing to advancing years, he has discontinued his attendance at the gatherings, at which he had such a troop of friends, and where he, under the title of Papa Nichols, was so universally popular. It is a tradition that the bloodhound is identical with the sleuth or sloth hound, from the word sloth, probably meaning scent, and that he is of a very ancient breed in these islands, used for tracking moss troopers and other wrongdoers in the olden days. The earliest record of them occurs in King Henry III's time, when they were used in tracking offenders. The most usual colors are shades of rich tan, with more or less dark markings on body and head, which latter is long, lean, and peaked, the face thin and narrow, the skin loose and puckered, long folded and pendulous ears, broad nose, expanded nostrils, long, thin, flabby, and pendulous flews, deep and voluminous dewlap, sunken bloodshot eyes, and flexible active stern, thick at root, tapering to a point. The hound strikes you as not over large, but with great character, quality, and much dignity, well knit, plenty of bone, symmetrical straight legs, wide across the back, full in body and back ribs, and game in temperament, with fine, deep, sloping shoulders and enormously powerful hindquarters. The points associated with the bloodhound are as follows: skull long, narrow, and very much peaked, square, deep muzzle, ears thin, long, set on rather low, hanging in shapely folds close against the face, eyes deep set, dark color and lustrous, lids triangular shaped, showing the red haw, flews long, thin, and pendulous, the upper overhanging the lower lips, neck rather long and slightly arched towards base of skull, plenty of dewlaps, wrinkled skin of face very loose and abundant, short, close-lying coat, thin skin, sloping and deep shoulders, broad muscular loins, well let down brisket, powerful thighs and second thighs, strong straight legs, feet round, with well-bent hocks, stern tapering and carried gaily, colors black and tan, tawny, and red and tan. General appearance that of a high-class, aristocratic, and very dignified animal, who looks as if he considered himself fit company for an emperor, and would not care to associate with any but those belonging to the upper circles. Otter hounds. I should like just to say a few words about this picturesque breed, made familiar to us by the paintings of Landseer, Ansdell, Noble, and Frederick Taylor, and of which I had some beautiful specimens before me at the National Dog Show at Birmingham in November 1898. The colors are usually dark and light browns and tans mixed with grizzle, the general appearance somewhat like rough-coated bloodhounds, with just a dash of an overgrown dandy about them. Very rugged and unsophisticated thin look, but quite charming to an artistic eye, and convey the idea that when they know what they are wanted to do, they will not hesitate to do it, whatever it may be. Any animals that have to contend with such a wily, active, and resourceful foe as the otter, either on land or where he is still more at home in water, have to be pretty spry if they would give a good account of him. Of course, these hounds are usually kept in packs, and do not, as a rule, enjoy much human company, except connected with their training for their work and the exercise of it, but would be an ornament to any establishment, and if I mistake not, were prime favorites of His Royal Highness, the lamented Prince Consort, whose ability as a sportsman and taste as a connoisseur of all relating to art and things beautiful are well known to his many admirers. I remember seeing the engraving of a beautiful picture, I presume in the possession of Her Majesty the Queen, either by Richard Ansdell, R.A., or the late Frederick Taylor, R.W.S., showing His Royal Highness in a rough, wide-bottomed boat, crossing a Highland loch, with a pack of these beautiful hounds, some in the boat, some on the bank, and some in the water, either just starting for or just returning from an otter hunt, and it impressed me very much. I may say that it is very usual to have some dandies, Skyes, or other Scottish terriers associated with a pack of otter hounds, to assist in dislodging the quarry when it takes refuge amongst the boulders and rocks so often met in the haunts of the graceful otter. The packs of these dogs are chiefly in Dumfriesshire, Cumberland, Devon, and some parts of Wales, both north and south. I have come across such a detailed account of the otter and rules for hunting it in a book more than 300 years old, but which show the writer to be well informed on the subject and a man of such keen observation that I venture to quote it in the quaint original language, hoping it may be interesting to some of the sportsmen amongst my readers. Quote, "The otter is a beast well known. She feedeth on fish, and lieth near unto rivers, brooks, pools, and fish ponds or weirs. Her lying in commonly is under the roots of trees, and sometimes I have seen them lying in a hollow tree 4 or 5 foot above the ground. Even as a fox, polecat, wildcat, or badger will destroy a warren, so will the otter destroy all the fish in your ponds if she once have found the way to them. She diveth and hunteth under the water after a wonderful manner, so that no fish can escape her, unless they be very great and swift. A litter of otters will destroy you all the fish in a river in 2 miles length. There is great cunning in the hunting of them, as shall be said in the next chapter, and also it is possible to take them under the water, and by the river side, both in traps and in snares as you may take a hare, with hare pipes or such like gins. They bite sore and venomously, and defend themselves stoutly. I will not speak much more of their nature, but only that they are footed like a goose. I mean they have a web between their claws, and have no heels, but only a round ball under their sole, and their track is called the mark of an otter, as we say the slot of a hart. An otter abideth not much, nor long in one place, but if she be befrayed or find any fault, as they are very perfectly of smelling and hearing, they will forsake their couch, and shift a mile or 2 up or down a river. The like will she do if she have once destroyed the store of fish, and find no plenty of feeding. From a pond garden, or good store of fish ponds, she will not lightly be removed, as long as there is store of fish in them, for therein fishes are taken with more ease than in the rivers or greater waters. But enough of their natures. When a huntsman would hunt the otter, he should first send 4 servants or varlets, with bloodhounds or such hounds as will draw in the game, and let him send them two up the river and two down the river, the one couple of them on that one side, and the other on that other side of the water. And so you shall be sure to find, if there be an otter in the quarter, for an otter cannot long abide in the water, but must come forth in the night to feed on grass and herbs by the water's side. If any of their hounds find of an otter, let the huntsman look in the soft grounds and moist places to see which way he bent the head up or down the river. And if he find not the otter quickly, he may then judge that he is gone to couch somewhere further off from the water. For an otter will sometimes seek his feed a mile or little less from his couch and place of rest. Commonly he will rather go up the river than down, for going up the stream bringeth him scent of the fishes that are above him, and bearing his nose into the wind, he shall the sooner find any fault that is above him. Also you should make an assembly for the otter as you do for the hart, and it is a note to be observed that all such chases as you draw after before you find them, lodge them, or harbor them, you should make a solemn assembly to hear all reports before you undertake to hunt them. And then he which have found of an otter, or so drawn towards his couch that he can undertake to bring you unto him, shall cause his hounds to be uncoupled, a bowshot or twain, before he come to the place where he thinketh that the otter lieth, because they may cast about a while, until they have cooled their bawling and hainsick toys, which all hounds do likely use at the first uncoupling. Then the varlets of the kennel shall seek by the riverside and beat the banks with their hounds, until some of them chance upon the otter. Remember always to set out, some upwards and some down the streams, and every man his otter spear or forked staff in his hand. And if they miss, shall they run up or down the stream, as they see the otter bend, until they may at last give him a blow. For if the hounds be good otter hounds, and perfectly entered, they will come chaunting and trailing alongst by the riverside, and will beat every tree root, every holm, every osier bed, and tuft of bulrushes. Yea, sometimes also they will take the river and beat it like a water spaniel, so that it shall not be possible for the otter to escape, but that either the hound shall light upon him, or else some of the huntsmen, and thus you may have excellent sport and pastime in hunting of the otter, if the hounds be good, and that the rivers be not over great. Where the rivers be great, some used to have a line thrown overthwart the river, the which two of the huntsmen shall hold by each end, one on the one side of the river, and the other on that other, and let them hold the line so slack that it may always be underneath the water. And if the otter come diving under the water, he shall of necessity touch their line, and so they shall feel and know which way he is passed, the which shall make him be taken the sooner. An otter's skin is very good fur, and his grease will make a medicine to make fishes turn up their bellies as if they were dead. A good otter hound may prove an excellent good buckhound, if he be not old. End quote. Another writer of about 25 years since, in speaking of the otter hound, says, he is bred to stand wet or rheumatism, to hunt by eye as well as scent, to mark the bubbles when his quarry is down, and join in the chase in the otter's element. Failing that, he has to stoop to the scent again. He must be undistracted by whoops and halloos of the attending multitude, observing the huntsman only, and answering his horn and cheer. With many a blank day and disappointment, he must resolutely hunt and face a water demon. The points of the breed are laid down as follows. The head should, in shape, be something between that of the bloodhound and foxhound. It should show much of the gravity and dignity of the former, but rather flatter and harder in character. Forehead long and narrow, eyes rather sunken, showing the haw, but large and dark in color. Nostrils large and roomy, nose itself black and a good size, with rough-haired muzzle and full hanging lips. Ears coated with coarse hair without feathering at edges, but very large, thin, and pendulous. Neck fairly throaty, muscular, and of a good length. Chest more deep than wide, rather loose back ribs, but strong, deep, long, and straight. Feet large, not close, and well webbed between toes. Muscular thighs, powerful sloping shoulders, with elbows well let down. Tail carried in a sloping position, fairly coated with hair, decreasing towards the end. Coat not short, but dense, hard, and wiry, very weather-resisting in character. Colors may be black, dull white, and creamy tan, or black and tan, black and white, grizzled pied, buff, or shades of brown or brownish tan. Great Danes. I suppose at the present time it will be generally admitted that the largest and best kennel of this breed is in the hands of one of the handsomest and most graceful of the many enthusiastic ladies interested in the kennel world, and that one of the most charming sights at many of our largest shows is to see a team of these beautiful dogs, accompanied by their fair owner, and from the crowds of the public I have noticed outside the rings on such occasions, I have no doubt they were appreciative spectators. The points of the breed, as stated by a well-known breeder and exhibitor, are: the head, which should be carried high, rather long, and not too broad. Muzzle broad, strong and blunt. Eyes small with sharp expression. Neck long and arched, free from any dewlaps. Chest moderately broad. Brisket deep, loin slightly arched. Shoulders sloping, elbows well under, belly well tucked up. Legs straight and muscular, second thighs long and strong. Feet rather large, well arched and close. Ears dropped at the tips and carried as in black and tan terriers, small as possible in proportion to the size of the animal. Coat hard, short, and dense. Tail strong at base, ending in fine tapering point, carried rather low, not much below curve of hindquarters. General appearance, that of an upstanding, determined animal, with whom it would be best to avoid a difference of opinion if possible, but one who would doubtless be all right when you knew him, and he knew you. Chapter 4. Dogs used in sport continued. Pointers, setters, retrievers. The pointer. Although this variety of dog has not in the general way enjoyed the advantage of constant human society to anything like the extent possessed by some others, There is little doubt numbers of the family have developed considerable intelligence, particularly in connection with their work. The late Mr. Forster of Manchester relates that a pointer belonging to him, when out with his master, would, if he missed a bird, go up to him, seize hold of and shake his gaiter, as if to remonstrate with him for not making better use of the game he had found for him. And the late Reverend T. Pierce, no mean authority on most breeds of sporting dogs, said in speaking of pointers, quote, "I have no prejudice for the setter over the pointer, although I have had 10 setters to 1 pointer. If the ground I shoot over suits the pointer suits me. But I do not think he is quite so well adapted for the gun as the setter, provided the setter is of equal talent and adequately trained. But it would be hard to find anything more perfect than some pointers I have shot over myself, or more thoroughly intelligent, industrious, and sensible. One of them, old Jessie, a chance dog I had of Mr. Meyer for snipe shooting, was a fine example indeed. As his pedigree was not ascertained, he was not used for breeding purposes, but was a fine specimen of some Yorkshire strain, large size, and liver and white in color. If I missed him in driving off to my snipe grounds, he would track my pony and gig like a sleuth hound, and many a time have I found him close behind my wheels, when I have for miles looked back for him in vain. One bright winter morning, I sat on a gate waiting for one Captain Hull, my companion, and looking up a long stretch of road, I observed old Jessie coming along with a young dog of mine, which he had evidently invited to join in the fun. And so I let the young dog work on snipe, a game he was never on before. It was a sight to see how old Jessie tried to teach him the trade. I had 2 pieces of snipe bog 2 miles apart, and one bad scenting day he missed my track and went to the wrong place, so that it was past 1 o'clock when I reached the place to which he had gone. On getting there, which I generally shot first, I saw old Jessie standing stiffly on a snipe. How long he had been pointing I cannot say. Frequently as I walked up to his point, I have flushed snipe and shot them before I reached him, but this made no difference to him, nor did it in the least interfere with his steadiness. Once, on the occasion I have mentioned of his being accompanied by the young dog, he snarled at the youngster for flushing a jack-snipe, and when he repeated the fault, went up and worried him severely. As 2 of us shot together, he got into the habit of coming to my room in the morning to see if I was dressed for shooting, and if I was not, he would go to my companion's chamber and accompany him, or track him through the streets if he had gone on, and I do not remember that he ever failed to find him. Julie, a liver and white pointer, was another of my pointers which showed great sagacity and firmness. We have frequently lost her for a considerable time in a high cover on a celebrated piece of ground called Keysworth in Dorsetshire, belonging to my friend Mr. Drax, and at last we have seen the sting of her fine stern above the rushes, for she always held it higher than her head. She was one of the most intelligent dogs I ever possessed, and would retrieve any game alive. Though only in her 2nd season, she was the animal always sent out with young hands, and if they ran to pick up their game, she would bark at them reproachfully. I never had a pointer before that seemed to enter so keenly into the sport or to appreciate as she did the real and proper style of beating for game." End quote. The points of this well-known sportsman, the pointer, are: skull rather wide between the ears, with a pronounced drop at the stop, the occipital protuberance being also well defined, the muzzle being long and bent at the nose, which is rather dark liver or else flesh-colored, eyes dark or light according to colors of markings, ears rather fine, set on low and hanging flat to the sides of the head, neck gracefully arched and quite free from overlaps, shoulders sloping, chest moderately wide and extremely deep, body powerful and well ribbed up at the loin, forelegs dead straight, set well in under the dog, heavy in bone, the feet being round and compact, hind quarters powerful, the stifle being a little turned out and the hocks well let down, tail rather short and tapering to the tip, coat moderately fine. Colors liver and white, lemon and white, black or black and liver ticked. The English Setter. The elegant family known by the above title are divided into 3 branches, called respectively English, Gordon, and Irish. Each have their body of supporters, and many very beautiful specimens of them all are to be seen at our best shows. Perhaps Birmingham lays itself out most for the sporting dog classes, but now, when there are so many large exhibitions held in various parts of the United Kingdom, the same dogs are more often seen at the various places. The following descriptions of each of the 3 branches of the family are taken from notes communicated by a well-known gentleman in the doggy world to a work on dogs published some 75 years since. Quote, "The head of the English setter should not be so heavy as the pointer's, nor so wide across the ears. There should be at least 4 inches from the inner corner of the eye to the point of the nose. In many first-class dogs, there is half an inch more. The nasal bone should be rather depressed in the center and slightly raised at the nostrils. The nose and nostrils large, the nose dark liver-colored or black, moist and shining. The jaw should be level and the teeth exactly level in front, as nothing detracts more from appearance than the snipe nose. There should not be that fullness of lip allowable in the pointer, but at the angles of the mouth the lips should be rather pendulous. The ears, which are usually about 6 inches in length, should be set low on the head, larger where they are attached than at the tips, which should be round, not pointed. They should never be pricked or carried forward, even when the dog points. The eyes should be large and sparkling, not protruding as in the King Charles Spaniel, but well set and full of intelligence. The neck long, thin, slightly arched at crest, and clean cut where it joins the head. This last a most important point. The shoulders should be well set back, the blades long, the muscles well developed throughout, ribs not so widely sprung as the pointers, the back ribs deep and fairly near the hip bone, the chest deep and moderately wide, the loins broad and arched slightly and the hips wide, the hind quarters square, strongly made and the stifles well bent. Cat-like feet are preferable to the hare or spoon foot. The round foot, with toes well arched, distributes the power of the toes more evenly and is best suited for every description of shooting ground. In fact, the foxhound foot and leg with it. The feet should be straight, neither turned in or out. The toes should be well furnished with hair, which in the best breeds forms a tuft between the toes and protects the sole, being replenished as fast as it wears away. The pastern should be nearly upright and large, knees large, forelegs upright and in a standing position. The legs should be like good forelegs in a horse, the feet slightly in advance of straight. The hocks strong, set a little in if any deviation from a straight line. The stern of a setter, like that of a spaniel, should be carried as much as possible in a line with the backbone. The undulating sweep upwards, if exaggerated, would become a serious fault. A setter's stern cannot well be too straight, and it should never be too long, or it cannot be carried handsomely. The stern looks better when the feather commences near the root of the tail and goes off gradually to nothing at the tip. A tail blunt or clubbed is very objectionable. The coat should be of the finest silky texture, moderately waved but devoid of curl. There may be an inclination in the coat to part down the back. Colors of order of merit: 1. Blue mottle or Belton grays, which stand work and are better than 2. Orange and white and lemon and white. 3. Black and white. 4. Pure white. 5. Pure black. 6. Fawn or yellow. 7. Liver color or liver and white, which last 2 often indicates a cross with the pointer or water spaniel. The Gordon Setter. The points of excellence in the Gordon closely resembled those of the English Setter, but I may observe that the great features of true Gordon blood are that they can go much longer without water than the generality of setters, and that they show more variety in their attitude on the point. The length of their shoulders, their large bone, and their development of muscle enabled them to race and to keep it up. The color of the Gordon is a great point. The black should be raven black, with a blue or plum bloom on the bright lights. The tan a rich red, of burnt sienna color. It should be by no means yellow or tabby, or mixed with black or fawn, but rich, deep, a sort of bright new mahogany. The cheeks, lips, throat, feet, back of the forelegs to the elbow, front of the hind legs up to the hips, belly, insides of thighs, vent, underside of flag, inside of ears, should all be brilliant red, and there should be a large brilliant spot of tan over each eye. There is no objection to a white short frill, although the absence of all white is a good thing. White toes behind are less objectionable than white toes in front, and several of the very best Gordons have even had a white foot or feet. But this is not to be desired if it can be avoided. The origin of the breed is not well known. The late Duke of Gordon, at any rate, brought it up to its present excellence. There is a suspicion it came originally from Ireland, and the fact that nearly all the best Gordons have had in every litter 1 or more deep red or orange whelps leads one to believe there has been an Irish cross. The Gordon Setter's stern is shorter than that of the English Setter, but sting-like. Failing this, breeders find they have that greatest trouble to the Gordon breeder, the teapot tail, or a long stern with a curl at the end, badly carried in action. He is a long, low setter, his gallop noiseless, and he is remarkably quick in his turn. From the power of his shoulders and loins, length of his neck, and general muscular development, a trifle heavier in his head, shorter in his stern, rather deeper in his brisket, more bony and muscular than the English setter, with a remarkably gay temperament. Always busy, he is quite the beau ideal of a sportsman's favorite. But he has his failings. He is more frequently gun-shy, more often the victim of distemper than the English, and occasionally so headstrong as to be totally irreclaimable. These may be the faults of education, and generally are so, but undeniably they are more often the results of inbreeding or injudicious crossing. The Irish Setter. The head of the Irish Setter should be long, narrow, yet wide in the forehead, arched or peaked cranium behind. A short bullet head, a wide flat one, or one running to a point at the snout, are very common and very bad. The lips should be deep or moderately so. The ears should be long, reaching at the end of the hair to the nose, pendulous, and as if lying in a fold, set well back and low on the head. They should never be set high, short in length, or half diamond-shaped. Their feathers should be moderate. The eyes of a rich hazel or rich brown, well set, full, kind, sensible and loving, the iris mahogany color, should never be gooseberry, black, or prominent and staring. The nose mahogany, dark flesh or blackish mahogany, never black or pink. Even dark flesh is not so much admired, though it may be with a good clear hazel eye. The whiskers should be red. The forelegs straight, moderately feathered, the feet close and small, not round like a hound's or splayed. The hams straight, flat, and muscular, and feathered well with buff-colored hair. The hindquarters altogether square and active in make. The chest should be wide when the dog is sitting on his haunches, and the head held back and full. Too wide a chest is apt to give a waddling and slow gait. The chest ribs cannot be too deep. The loins for speed should be long, moderately wide, and the belly well tucked up. The tail should be well covered with coarse hair, curling along the tops, and hanging moderately, though bushy from beneath, carried on a horizontal line with the back, not cocked or curled. In the field or excitement, carried low, stiff, and beating the hind legs. The coat should be rather coarse, smooth, or wavy, not curly. Hair of moderate length, on the upper parts of the body, the root half tawny, the tip half deep sienna, a sort of blood red, but never showing black on the ears, back, head, or tail. The legs and under parts deep or pale tawny. White should not appear anywhere except in the center of the forehead and the center of the breast. End quote. It may be interesting to some of my readers, amongst whom I hope will be included fanciers of every breed, as well as some who have been hitherto fanciers of no breed at all, if I set out here the show points of setters, taking them in their usual order, as English, Gordon, and Irish. The English setter. The head should be long and rather narrow, the skull slightly domed and not very broad at base, muzzle long, square, and clean, not too pointed at end. Nose moderately large, with wide nostrils, ears fine, set on low and lying close to the sides of the head. Eyes soft, bright, and intelligent, not light in color. Neck very muscular and of fair length, shoulders clean and sloping, chest not wide but deep, back strong and muscular, ribs well sprung and deep, powerful broad loin, thighs fairly long and muscular, stifles well let down and bent, forelegs well feathered and straight, pastern short, straight, and firm, stern medium length, well set on, almost in line with back, not carried gaily or curled, feet close and compact, slightly feathered between toes, coat free from any curl, soft, wavy, and silky. Colors blue and white ticked, white with black markings, and white with liver markings most favored, but almost any others allowed except red and black and tan. The Gordon or black and tan setters are supposed to have been so called from their original connection with Gordon Castle kennels. There are, however, said to be many good specimens not in any way related to that particular strain, the color of which was tricolor, black, tan, and white. This variety is heavier than their English or Irish brethren, and shows more of the hound and less of the spaniel. The head is stronger, with deeper and broader muzzle and heavier lips. The ears are also somewhat longer, and the eyes often show the haw. The black should be as jet and absolutely free from white. The tan on cheeks and over eyes and on feet and pasterns should be rich and bright and clearly defined, and the feathering on forelegs and thighs should also be tan. The Irish setters are higher on the leg than their English cousins, although in most respects the conformation of body is precisely the same in both breeds. Head long and narrow, muzzle square, lips moderately deep, ears fine, set low and lying well back, giving a domed appearance to the skull, stop well defined, eyes rich hazel or dark brown, soft and expressive, chest deep and ribs well sprung, shoulders clean and sloping, loin somewhat arched, broad and muscular, coat lustrous and rather plentiful, rich dark red with a golden tinge, no white allowable, except a star on head or chest. And with that, I think we'll end this evening's reading from All About Dogs, a book for doggy people. If you're at all interested in dogs, I do recommend checking out the ebook on Project Gutenberg, just so you can see the beautiful illustrations of the champions of each of these breeds, which, quite honestly, vary a bit from how these dogs appear today. I'll leave it to you to decide whether they've been improved over the century since this book was published. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this. As always, you'll find a link to a free ebook from Project Gutenberg in the show description. If you'd like to connect, suggest a boring book you'd like to hear read, or request more from one we've already started, you can drop me an email via our website, www.boringbookspod.com. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me for this evening's reading. Until our next boring book, good night.